well, men in the United States, it's unequal because women don't have an abortion right, and there's no corresponding thing that could take away a man's bodily autonomy. But that's actually quite literally not true, because we have male-only conscription in this country. So if there's a draft, only men would be conscripted, and their bodily autonomy would quite literally be taken away from them. They'd be forced to go to somewhere they don't want to go. They'd be forced to go to war. They'd be forced to fight. They'd potentially be forced to die. I think that that's worse than not having the right to an abortion.
And in the events of a draft, it's not will they die, people will die. A lot of people die. This isn't World War II. This is 2023. Whatever, it's going to be bad.
Women die during childbirth, though, too.
That is true.
What if...
Wait, I have a question. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Sienna.
Maybe I can't say that.
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. My question to you, let me ask you guys this. What would you say to a guy, let's say there's just some fuckboy out there, and he was just sleeping with a bunch of girls, and he gets a girl pregnant, and he's like, oh fuck, man, and she wants to keep the kid, right? What would you say to him? Like, what would you tell him? Like, and he doesn't want to have the kid. What would you tell him?
Get ready for child support.
Child support.
Would you maybe tell him, hey, if you didn't want to be in this situation, maybe you shouldn't have had sex? Would you tell him that?
Maybe tell him to use a condom, but...
Oh, okay. But what would you tell him? Like, tough luck?
I don't know. I feel like at that point, there's not much you can do as the man, because you're not the one, like, bearing the child.
Right. We have zero reproductive rights.
I'd have to agree.
But would you just tell him to suck it up?
I mean, at that point, it's either like you discuss it with the girl and you try and like come to an agreement. I don't know, or like you can't. She wants
to keep the kid, and she's going to come after. She's definitely going to come after you for child support. What do you tell the guy?
I mean, there's nothing you can do then.
You tell him. What do you tell him though?
There's nothing you can do. Like, you have to pay the child support.
Tough luck, right?
He has no say,
you
right?
shouldn't have done that, right? See, we only hold men accountable for their bad decisions, but...
I wouldn't say you shouldn't have done that, though. I'd just say, like, that is the result of an action that, like, was taken. I don't think that the same thing can
right,
be
so
said.
men have no reproductive rights, so there is no inequality.
I mean, it's not necessarily, like... I don't think, like, that plays into it in the way that, like, you're seeing it play into it. Because I don't think that, like, it has anything to do with the fact that, like, just because, I don't know, I just don't think that situation holds relevance to, like...
But I guess what's interesting is when, for example, if a woman wanted to get an abortion, and if we were to tell that woman, you should have just kept your legs closed, a lot of people would be very offended by that comment and say, well, women should still have an option, and whereas if a man gets a girl pregnant, suck it up, tough, enjoy 18 years of child support. You have no say as a guy. You have no option.
He may not have a say, but like, how many deadbeat fathers are out there that like don't pay their child support, don't show up for their child or their baby mama?
Yeah,
like,
and then if they don't pay their child support, they get thrown in prison. Actually, we abolished debtors' prisons hundreds of years ago because we realized that putting people in prison for debt, for not paying fines or for debt is is bad. But the only way that you can go to jail for not paying a fine or not paying a debt is through child support. So basically men are exposable. Men are viewed, we are the wage slaves of society. That's it.
But do you think there could be anything to do with the fact, I mean, so you've made this point before that men can impregnate multiple women, and women can only get pregnant by one man once every 9 months. So do you think that could have a reason why there's no, like, if there was legislation that gave men more rights, the fact that they're able to exercise that more, like, it just could get more complicated? I'm just curious.
Wait,
I don't know what it would look like, but I wonder if that could play into why women are granted more rights legally in this sense, and if it has to do with the fact that men can get more women pregnant, like it just seems like it would be a nightmare, whereas a woman can only get pregnant by one guy at one time, and then it's for 9 months, or I guess she could abort it, and then do you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but she was saying that there's a bunch of, even though like if a guy gets a girl pregnant, there are a lot of guys that aren't going to pay child support. Mm-hmm. They're going to be deadbeat dads, right? Sorry, it's getting late. My brain fuel is running out. But my counter to that is, well, there are consequences as a guy if you are a deadbeat dad. Mm-hmm. And if the woman wants to pursue it, you can get thrown in. If you don't pay child support, that you can go to jail for that.
Yeah.
So, and again, we abolished debtors' prisons long time ago. But the only thing where you can still go to prison for not paying some sort of fine or something is when it comes to child support, and that's like 97%. It's over 90% of child support goes from men to women. So, but it's interesting when men don't want to step up to the plate, when men don't want to be fathers, when men aren't in a financial position or don't want to financially contribute, they're called deadbeat dads. But when women want to get abortions, that like you go.
That is
go for it.
That's really interesting.
Against the man's wishes. That happens
no,
too.
The women are called empowered.
No, but men are called deadbeats, so men always have to have accountability, but women, you have an out. Just get an abortion. You're not called if you're a woman who gets.
Why don't we allow abortion?
Huh?
Why don't we allow it then? If it's
we do allow.
Roe v.
abortions.
Wade didn't
States.
abolish it; just made it a state issue, which is interesting. I mean, you could
Go to
say,
California.
imagine if the draft was defederalized, so it became a state's issue, and certain states could choose if they have a draft or not. Then it would be more comparable comparison. But
I would say like both, not to get into politics, but like both people on the left and the right politically would say that a guy who's like not paying child support or isn't in that kid's life is a deadbeat father. And certainly like people, if you're a Republican or conservative, you're obviously very critical of abortion. However, like it's interesting that there's this pressure on men on both sides if you're a deadbeat dad, because you're not financially ready, or you're not financially in a position to support a kid, but that's a totally valid reason for a woman to get an abortion. I just think that's interesting.
it is interesting.
It's an interesting thought.